Hello, this is a tarot card reading for Reddit user Straycatstruts. It is January 4th, 2015 at 5:10 in the evening. We will be using the standard tarot deck today, and here we have the horseshoe spread. It'll give us an in-depth look at your situation. One thing I really like about the spread is many spreads either don't use a card to represent you, the querent, or they depend on me to interpret the information you give me in selecting an accurate card for the spread. The reason I really like this spread is that the deck itself gives us an idea of who you are, where you're at with your attitudes in regards to the situation right now. So we really get an accurate information on that situation. So basically what you asked me, you're curious about your love life. So the person you're interested in right now was a friend who left for college, and now that he's back, you are interested in pursuing something more. You'd like to know if that will be something you'll be moving forward on, and you'd also like to know, if not, what's in store for your love life if you do have a love connection coming up. The first card in this spread represents your past. So here, your past, your romantic past, I see the Queen of Pentacles. What this tells me is in your past, you've been very easygoing when it comes to love, almost too easygoing. You let yourself take risks. Maybe you make advances too early on without knowing if the other person is interested. Maybe if you take risks falling for people who aren't good for you or who are very troubled. And I also see that if you've been sexually active, maybe you take risks in that regard as well. I do see some cards here that represent physical abundance, so I would just forewarn, if you were or are sexually active, do keep in mind to use protection if you're not interested in having a baby. So what I see here is in the past, you're very easygoing when it came to romance, almost to the point where it hurt you. Too many risks when it came to love. The second card is the card that represents you in the present, and here we have the High Arcana card, Death. This is one of the cards in the tarot deck that is very misunderstood. This card does not actually represent a physical death. It doesn't represent you, the boy in the situation, anyone you care for dying. What this actually represents is you're currently going under a very traumatic process of rebirth. So right now you're changing. Something occurred when you were too easygoing and too giving in your romantic life in the past, and someone has hurt you. And I see that you're currently going under a phase of rebirth. I see that you're no longer this easygoing person, and you're changing. Perhaps you're becoming a little more guarded when it comes to love. Maybe you're becoming more reasonable, or maybe you've become closed off. But I do see a change currently. The next card we have represents the hidden influences in the situation, and here we have the Five of Pentacles. And what I see here is that you've had a spiritual loss. So I do see that something from this easygoing attitude has caused you to have this spiritual loss. And this loss is something that may be affecting you more deeply than you expected. When I come to this hidden influences card, it's not always something that you don't understand. You just may not understand how deeply it's affecting you. And this spiritual loss, I believe, is what is occurring with this Death card. Is what's inspiring this phase of rebirth. The next card in the spread again represents you and your attitude about the situation. And here we have the Three of Swords. And here I see a lot of heartache and a lot of grief. So again, I see from this easygoing attitude, you took some kind of a risk, suffered some kind of spiritual loss, which led to this heartache and grief, which has led up to this period of rebirth in your life. The next card in the spread gives me an idea of what other people in your life think, and it gives me an idea of what type of rebirth you have occurred. Here we have the Nine of Wands, and this card shows me that surprisingly, despite being so easygoing and perhaps not expecting of conflict, I do see here that you've been able to handle all of this adversity very well. However, the people around you think that it's made you become skeptical. And I can definitely see that happening here. So the people around you are saying, even though you've taken risks in the past in your love life, don't let that harden you from true love. Keep yourself open. There's someone out there for you. The next card in the deck represents advice, and here we have another major arcana card, and this is the Empress. And honestly, this card is just a great card to have in this spread. I see that the deck advises you will find love. Again, this card also has to do with physical and parental abundance. So if you do become sexually active, or if you are now and you are interested in having children, definitely keep an eye on the birth control. And lastly, we have the card. So the rest of this reading represents chapters in a book. This is the conclusion. This is the outcome of the situation. And here we have the Six of Swords. And what that's telling me is it actually reinforces a couple things. It reinforces the rebirth we see here, and it reinforces the love we see with this card. This card tells me that things are looking up. You will definitely be finding a loving relationship. And now that you've gone through this period where you've gone from easy going into this rebirth, almost a little hardened, if you can work on the skepticism and find a balance, you'll be a more reasonable person. You'll be able to protect yourself more when it comes to loving relationships. So I do see that there's been some spiritual loss, and I see that there is some heartbreak right now. But I do see you'll be going through a period of rebirth. And what I get from this reading is that you'll be moving from the past into the future. So I don't think you'll be proceeding with your friend who's returning from college. It looks like you need a fresh start in your love life. But I do see that you will have a love interest coming to your life soon. Again, everything we see here is emphasized by what we have in the cards. The swords specifically emphasize the conflict we saw earlier, and the two major arcana emphasize that this, of course, deals with other people, it deals with loving relationships. Thank you again for letting me read for you, and the best of luck in 2015.